Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to build a super useful tool, a word counter with a character limit built with Python and Tkinter. This project is great for beginners looking to explore GUI development and learn how to handle real-life scenarios like limiting characters in comment boxes, similar to what you see on social media platforms like Twitter. And I'll be walking you through the entire process step by step, explaining the code and logic so that by the end of this video, you will have your own word counter with a live character counter. If you find this tutorial helpful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for Python projects and web development content. Now, let's dive right into it. So the word counter is a simple tool that allows users to input text instantly and see how many characters and words they have written. In this project, we'll be using Python's Tkinter library to create a visual interfaces where users can type their text into a comment box. The program will count the number of characters in real time and restrict user inputs once the text reaches a certain limit, similar to character limits found in social media comment sections. This is an excellent example for how to implement real-time data validation in user inputs, especially for platforms like Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, where character count matters. So before we get started, I would like to tell you guys that I'm going to be using the PyCharm IDE in this project. You can also use VS Code, Anaconda, and any other IDE of your choice. But in this tutorial, I'm going to be using the PyCharm IDE, and I'm going to be linking it in the description for those that want to use it. So let's get started. So I'm going to create our project directory first of all. So I'm going to come to my file explorer. I'm going to come to this PC for those that are on PC, and I'm going to go to users, my name, and I'm going to locate the PyCharm project, which is this, and I'm just going to create a new folder, word counter. So this is it. I'm just going to minimize this real quick, and I'm going to drag this to our PyCharm to open in PyCharm. So I'm going to trust this project, and it's going to open this window for me where I have my project, and just going to maximize, and you can see it there. So yeah, so I'm just going to remove all these real quick. So you can see it has the main.py already there. So I'm just going to remove everything here real quick, Control A and delete. Yeah, so this is our file now where we'll be coding. So without any wasting of time, let's go straight forward to our coding. Before we do that, for those that are on Mac, if you want to create a new project, so you can just launch your PyCharm directly. And once you launch your PyCharm directly, you can come to this side here, and you can see new project, this file here, you can see new project. So once you click on new project, you can find any location of your choice that you want to save your project, and you can name your project as well, and you can choose the Python version that you want to use. So, but I'm not going to be doing that. I just did mine manually. So for those that are on Mac, take note of that. So let's get started. So in our main.py, this is our Python file. So we are going to import Tkinter. Tkinter is a standard Python library for building GUIs, that is graphical user interfaces. So we are just going to import it. So import Tkinter, you can see it here as TK. So we are going to give it an alias TK. So for referencing, for easier referencing, instead of writing Tkinter every time, we'll just reference it as TK in our code. So, and I'm going to import from Tkinter, import message box. So message box is for pop-up messages, like a warning message. And in our case, we are going to be using it when the user exceeds the character limits. So we are going to create the function that handles the character and the word counting logic. So just come down here and we are going to define it. So def, so this is a keyword for defining or creating a function in Python. So def count. Count is the name of the function that we want to give it. So we're going to name it count characters. I can spell count characters. So that's the name of our function. We're going to give it its parameters. Event equals none. The function handles the character and the word counting logic, and the event none is default arguments that let the function be triggered by any event like a key press. So the event equals none is like a default argument. So inside our function, let's create a variable text equals text box. Actually, we have not created the text box yet. After we create our function, we are going to create this text box variable using Tkinter. So that's why we're saying this red line here. It's fine, don't worry about that. So text box 1.0 comma tk dot end. Remember, we are referencing Tkinter now as tk. That's why we are using tk here. So end, then dot strip. And now what this means is, so the text box retrieves all the text from the text box widget. So this text box is actually a widget which we'll be creating with Tkinter, like I said, after creating the function. So don't worry about the red line that you see here. So it's going to retrieve it. Then the 1.0, this 1.0 means it will start from line 1, character 0. That's the meaning. So line 1, character 0. And the tk.end is going to tell it to read up to the end of the text box. That's the meaning. So it's going to read it up to the end of the text box. And the strip is to remove any unnecessary leading or trailing spaces and white spaces actually. So yeah, so that's that. So we're going to create another variable, char or car, anyone you want to call it, char count equals len text. So now what this means is we are going to get the total length of this text here that we created. You remember this text is what's retrieving the text from the text box widgets. So what this char or car count means is it's going to count, or it's going to return the number of characters in a string, including spaces and punctuations. So that's what this len means. So it's going to return the number of characters. We are now going to see word count, a new variable as well. Word count equals len text dot splits. Yeah, so this split here breaks the text into words by splitting it wherever there are spaces. So wherever there are spaces, it's going to split it and it will become one. So remember, this text as well is whatever we are getting from the text box widget. So that now we're going to split it. Anywhere you see space, is going to split it into what? A word. So now it's going to now return the number of words. You understand? So that's the meaning of this word count. So it's going to return the number of words. Let's now configure. So I'm just going to configure it. So let's just say char label dot config. So inside, and remember this char label as well, we're going to also create it. It's like a label in Tkinter. I'm going to show you guys everything after defining our function here. So .config means we are going to configure the label. So that means we are going to be updating it every time the user types in the text box. So we are going to be updating it. So we are going to set the text equals, so F means formatted string. So this allows us to concatenate. It's another way of concatenating in Python. So it allows us to just, combine strings and the variable characters. Then we're going to put our variable here, which is char count, which is this that we created, that returns the length of what? The text gotten from the text box. So char count over to let us tell them the total, which is 280. In this tutorial, you can set this, you can put 500 or whatever you want to put, but our character limit is 280. So this is this, and I'm just going to straight up copy this as well. So Control C and on Mac, Command C, and paste it here. Control V on Mac, Command V. So we are going to change this to word label. Remember, we are doing for both the word and the character. So word label.config. So the same thing, text. So we're going to change this to words. And the variable, we are going to change it to word count. That returns the number of words. So word count. Perfect. So, but there's no limit to this. We're just telling the person how many words the person have typed. So now we have created this to update words, to update the label, which we are going to be using Tkinter to create, like I said. So let's now check now. So if char count is greater than 280, so that means what? If this character count now is greater than 280, which is our limit, so what should it do? So we are going to create a message box, like I told you earlier on, guys, like it's a pop-up. So we're going to be using it as a warning. So we are going to say dot show warning for the warning pop-up. So limit reached, and yeah, so this limit reached is the title and this is the message. So you have reached the 280 character limit, exclamation. So you have reached the 280 character limit. So this warning pop-up is going to pop up when the character count exceeds 280. But before that, I have to write something. So I'm going to say text box. So first of all, it should delete towards all the characters that are inside the text box. So text box.delete. So 1.0, which is what? Character 1, line 0. So comma tk.end. So to the end of it, it should delete it whenever it reaches the 280 character limit. Then after deleting it, it should now insert text box dot. So it should now insert text box dot insert 1.0, and now it should insert the text, but you should insert just the first 280 words. So which is this. So it should insert the first 280 characters. So that's the meaning of this text. Now what this means is, so when it reaches the 280 character limit, it should delete all the text and then insert this, and then it should insert the first 280 characters, and then it should pop up a message that says limit reached. You have reached the 280 character limit. So now this doesn't allow any other addition of words, so it's going to ensure it's always at 280 maximum. So that's the meaning of this code. So we are done with the function. So let me go right again. So we created what the function counts characters, event equals null. So this function is for handling of our logic. So the name of the function is count characters, and event equals to none, which is the default. So for any key press, we created a text variable equals text box. This text box is going to be a widget, a text widget, which we will be creating with Tkinter after we have defined our function and written our function logic. So we're going to create the variable text box, which is a text widget from Tkinter. So .get, it should get what? All the text. So it should get from character 1 and line 0, which is this 1.0. So to the end of the text box, that's the meaning of this tk end. Then .strip removes any leading or trailing white spaces, unnecessary ones. Then it should do what? Now we should create a variable character count. So I just read it, char count equals what? The length of this text here. So it should return the number of characters, including spaces and punctuations, and also the word count. Now, instead of just returning the number of characters from this text, it should first of all split them into separate words, and it should return the number of them. Now, update the character label, which we'll be creating again with Tkinter. So it should what? Configure the text, and we should use a formatted string, which is this f characters, then character count, which is this. Yeah, so over 280 to tell the person, okay, this is over 280. And the word label ourselves, the same thing, should return the word count. So this updates as the user types in the text box. So now we are now going to check if the character count, which is this. So if it's above 280, which is this, if it's greater than 280, then it should delete from character 1 line 0 to the end. and then it should now insert from character 1 and 90. You should insert what the first 280 characters from our text, which is this. So that's why we use the list to get the first 280 characters. And now it should pop up a message box. We give it the title, which is limits reached, and the message, we have reached the 280 character limit. So that's just a basic simple logic for our word counter program. So now let's create our GUI with Tkinter. So first of all, we are going to set the root. So root variable equals what? Tkinter, which is the tk dot what? Dot tk. Yeah. Empty parentheses. So what this does is it's going to create the main application window. So that's what it does. And root dot title, empty parentheses as well. So this one is going to set the title window. So inside, not actually empty parentheses, we are going to supply whatever the title of the window is going to be. So the title of the window is going to be comments box with word counter. Yeah, so that's what the title is going to be. Let's set the geometry. So root dot geometry. So now it's going to take a string as the argument. So we're going to set it to 400 by 300 pixels. So 400 pixels wide and 300 pixels tall. So that's our geometry for our window. So we are done with creating the window. So now let's create our label. Let's create our text box first before we create our label. Remember this text box here that is showing a red line. So let's create it here now. So we're going to say text box equals tk, which is Tkinter dot text, then root, comma. So set the height to 10, set the width, comma, set the width to 40. Let's pack it. So text box dot pack, empty parentheses. So what this code means is, so the tk.text, it creates a multi-line text input box where users can type their comments. So that's what we are going to use for the text box. So that's the text widget actually. So it creates a multi-line input box. So the height is 10 and the width is 40. So now the pack is a simple geometry manager that places the widget on the window. So it's going to place this our widgets text box here on this our window that we created, which is the root, as you can see. And now we are done with the text box. You can see there's no longer a red line here again. Let's create the char label and the word label as well. So let's create a char label. So char label, same thing, equals what? Tkinter dot, instead of text now we are going to create a label. So the label is going to the same thing, root, comma. So the text should be, now we're not setting any height and width for this one. We're just setting what the text is going to be. So the text is going to be characters 0/280. By default, it's going to be set to 0/280, but as the person types, it's now going to be replaced with what the character count, which is this /280. So at default first is 0, but as the person types, so whatever the function returns for us, that's what the person will be seeing as is typing. We are going to test it as well too. So now we are going to pack it as well. So char label does pack, so to place it on top of our widget. Same thing, we're just going to copy this for our word label as well, paste it here. So change this to word label, and tk.label roots. Now instead of characters, we're just going to change it to words, and it's just going to be 0 by default first. So as the person types, it's going to be updating. So change this to word label as well to pack it. So yeah, so we're almost done. So let's now bind our function to our text box. So text box dot bind. So for any key release, you can see the camel casing here. Sorry, this is capital K. Not actually camel casing though, but you can see capital K and capital R here. Please take note of that. So for any key release, sorry. So what should happen for any key release? So it should trigger our function, so which is this count characters. So I'm just going to remove the parentheses since there's no arguments. You can see these default arguments here, so well, we can just use this without any passing arguments. So for any key release, what should happen? Our function to trigger, so we are binding it towards our text box. So that's the meaning. So it attaches the word count characters function to any key release events. So this function, this means that the function will be called every time the user releases a key, allowing for real-time updates of the character and word count. So now let's loop. So root dot main loop, you can see it here, and yeah, so this main loop starts the Tkinter event loop, which allows the window open and responsive to user actions. So we are done with our code. Very simple. We imported the Tkinter, imported the message box, created our function. We got all the inputs from the text. We created a variable actually text to get towards all the inputs from the text box, which we created here, as you can see, and the character count to get the length of the characters, the word count to get the length of the word. So we configured it to update in real time. As you can see, the character label, which we created here, and the word label, which we created here, we set them to 0 by default, but as the function triggers, it shows them the count. Then, so we now check if it's the character count is more than 280, we delete everything and we insert just the first 280 words and show them a pop-up warning that the limit has been reached. And now we created our window. We named it root to be what? Tkinter.tk to create the window. And we gave it a title, comment box with word counter. And we set the geometry to 400 by 300. And now we created the text box, which is here. And tk.text, which is the text widget, root. So that means the roots, that's the main window. Then we set the height and the width. And we packed it so that it will be placed on top the window. So we created the character label as well to be Tkinter.label, so a label. We now set the default text to the words characters 0 over 280, but as it updates, it's going to change to this, as you can see. So that's why we use the config here. So the same thing with the word as well for the words, and we bind the text box. So for any key release, the count characters function should trigger, and we started our main loop. So now let's run. Let's run to see it's working. So you can see, so you can type in the comment box. So let's type real quick. Sorry. So let's type. So you can see it's updating in real time. So if you give it space and type again, you can see the words become 2 and the characters become 15. So you can give it space as well. You can type and type. And let's see what happens if we surpass the character limit. So I'll just keep on typing random things, you know. And it's returning both the word count and the characters count, as you can see it here. So we're at 121 over 280. Let's keep on going. It's updating in real time. To surpass that, so we have 13 words. And let's check. 17 words to 78 characters. And you can see now, it gives us what's a pop-up saying what's limit reached. You have reached the 280 character limit. So now what happens if we type again? It tells us the same thing. So you can see it can now have more than 280 characters, as you can see. So once it reaches the 280, it shows this limit here, as you can see. So yeah, that's that. So let me make this okay. So now 280 over 280, let's now type another word. You can see it doesn't go again. So yeah, so that's that for the comment box. So please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the tutorial. And if you want me to create future tutorials on this, I can as well create the JavaScript equivalent of this for those that are interested in JavaScript. So can use JavaScript to do this as well with HTML and CSS to build our GUI for the comment box. If you want any other tutorials in the future, you can suggest for me in the comment section. And thank you all for watching this tutorial. And I hope you guys enjoyed it and have a nice day. Peace.